If you've had a C-section in the past, then you're probably wondering if a vaginal delivery in the future is possible, and that's largely dependent on the specifics of your circumstances. When you get pregnant again, talk with your OB provider about it, and based on their knowledge of your history, they'll decide if you're a good candidate to attempt a vaginal birth. For example, let's say that your first baby was born because they didn't fit through your pelvis. You're probably not a good candidate for a VBAC or a vaginal birth after a C-section in the future because chances are none of your babies will fit. It comes down to the fact that you have a small pelvis and babies just aren't going to fit through it. But maybe your first C-section was done because the baby didn't tolerate labor, they were showing signs of stress and they had to get the baby out by C-section, or the baby was breech, or you had an abruption and started bleeding, something that's not likely to repeat itself, then you may be a great candidate for a VBAC. But it also depends on the area you live in, the hospital you're going to deliver at, and a few other factors. So your doctor will review that and decide if you're a good candidate. The reason why the screening process is so important is because we want to make sure that your chance of uterine rupture is minimal if you are going to attempt a vaginal birth after a C-section. The concern is that last time you had a C-section, the doctor made an incision on the uterus and delivered the baby. They stitched it up, and chances are it's healed nicely, but it's a weak point forevermore that will be tested if you are allowed to labor and attempt a vaginal delivery. Just imagine making a big incision down your bicep and then stitching it up and letting it heal, but then starting to lift really heavy weights. If you can imagine, there's the possibility for that to burst or rupture, and that's what can happen to the uterus. It's called a uterine rupture. When this does happen, it's potentially life-threatening to mothers and babies, but thankfully it only happens 1% of the time. So that's why if you're a good candidate, the doctor will talk to you about the risk of uterine rupture and the benefits of a vaginal delivery and decide if you're a good candidate. One of the things the doctor may consider is how long it's been since your last delivery. For example, if your last baby was born within the last 18 months, then your risk of uterine rupture is slightly higher, and that may also be taken into effect in making the decision about which form of delivery is safest for you and your baby. Again, if you have more questions about it, talk with your doctor, and if you have more questions in the future for me, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Intermountain Moms and recommend us to your friends and family too.